Hello, welcome to my second video about my project to make a property trading game in Fortnite creative mode. So, what have we got going here so far? When the game starts, this property, this building is not owned by any player. A player can come in and buy the property from the game, which gives them access to the basement where there are options about the property being, this button should not be here, the property being sold. They can set the price to none, which I believe is the default. I should check that. And they can set the price to be any of these price points. So then another player who does not own the building can visit the building, come up here, and buy the building, the property, at whatever price point has been chosen by the owner. Need to delete this button here. The buttons that allow non-owners to buy the property were actually enabled at game start, and I had to fiddle with the trigger that disables them at game start to make that work. What I want to do next is make it so that this building here, which is disabled at game start, this level instance is not turned on. I want the owner of the property to be able to pay an amount to build this building effectively, to enable it, and that's what I'm going to work on next. I have to come down here to the basement of the main building of the property and place a button that I will configure. Actually, that's wrong. What I need is a conditional button. We can use channel 27 for the conditional button to transmit to the building. Enable on channel 27. So I'm testing this part out, even though it's really simple, just to be sure that I am testing very frequently to avoid big problems. There we go. The building is constructed after we have paid for it as the owner. That's nice, but what do we do with this building in the gameplay? What is the advantage of building it in the first place? Well, I designed it using the retail row galleries because I thought, well, maybe it should be retail. The player can sell things here. So that's what I'm going to do next. I just realized I need to get rid of this door so that there's only one door coming into the basement of the building. Now I've got these conditional buttons set up, not set up, but placed so that they'll be used for buying, but there's a problem with this, that is, I need these to be invisible and not usable while this building is not constructed. These buttons for buying things in this retail building are visible as hologram only, and they'll be enabled on channel 27, which also enables the building, and that will keep them from being visible until the building is built. Now I'm going to test this by seeing, yep, these, oh no, they are visible. That's interesting, even though, it's because they're not disabled at game start, that's why. I'm also now fixing the prices on these buttons because I just realized I got the wrong amounts. This should fix that. Now going in to test this again, I should see nothing, and that's exactly what happens at game start. Good. So now I'm going to go and build that building. Now the building is visible now, and it's there now. And the buttons are there too. Good. Now I've just realized that when the player buys the property from another player, the old owner is not paid anything. That's a problem I can fix, but because I'm in the middle of this other thing with the new building, I'm not going to fix it just yet. So each of these buttons will need to activate a different channel, and those channels will each activate 2 item granters, one that grants items gold to the player that owns the store, and one that grants items to the buyer. Giving items to the the buying player, is easy because it's just giving it to the instigator who pressed this button. So that's easy, but then granting the gold to the owner is slightly more complicated. I need a player reference because it's not the instigator on the device. So each of these player references is registered the same way that this one is registered. So it's always the owner of the property, and then they're activated by these conditional buttons. So now I just need to add the item granters. So the item granters here with the gold will grant to the player owner. So we've got the conditional, the owner of the property. So we've got the conditional button transmitting to the player reference, transmitting to the item granter. So I should really test this, see if it actually goes the way I hope. So I'm going to go through the process of buying the property and building the second building, and then see if I can receive the selling item as the buyer and the gold price as the owner. So here we've got 740 gold and no wood, stone, or metal, but if we use this button, what happens? So we got the wood, we were not, because the gold is both deducted and added, so that actually is how it's supposed to go. So that test is good. So here's an interesting part of this project. How will the owner of the store restock the items? What should happen is these conditional buttons, there should be multiple of them for each item, and they should disable after each use, and then the player has to come in, submit items to re-enable them. So the simple first step here, of course, is just the duplication of these conditional buttons and setting them so that they disable after use. Now I've got this conditional button here that costs 100 wood, and I'm going to connect it by channel to the conditional button that is getting disabled, and that will cause it to re-enable when someone comes along and restocks. Now this is interesting. All of these conditional buttons already enable on channel 27. That means I need to set these to enable on the specific channels from the conditional buttons that restock, and then 27 has to then go over to all these channels with triggers. So I'll demonstrate that part in a sec. Now we need to connect channel 27 to channels 34 through this one, enabling 42. 34 through 40. I've got these 9 triggers here doing the transmit from receive on 27, trigger transmit on 34 through 42, and these will all be invisible during the game, so that's great. And now I think it is time to test this. And I'm going to test this basically by interacting with the store buttons a bunch. Oh, you know what? That's an issue. These need to be disabled at Game Start and enabled on channel 27. I should do that now. Okay, running another test. Go through the same process of enabling that, buying the property and building that building. So the building is up as expected. Now let's see what happens when we buy something. So if we want to buy wood, we get 100 wood. Our amount of money stays the same. What happens if we restock? We now have 100 less wood and the button is re-enabled. Excellent. Now let's check these other commodities just in case. Same behavior. Same behavior. I think we're good to go on this feature. Now that's all for this video, but I plan to keep them coming, so keep an eye out for them if you like this one.